Hi there, I'm Hannah, and tonight this is a creative empath meditation for overcoming shame and inferiority. So let's begin. We're going to take a little moment for mindfulness. So if you'd like to breathe with me, maybe you place a hand on the belly and a hand on the chest. Relax the shoulders, relax the jaw, relax the center between the eyebrows. Then we're going to begin to breathe, sitting up nice and tall. Feeling the belly, the ribs, and the chest expand on the inhale and contract on the exhale. Feeling your feet contact the ground. Breathing. Bringing some mindful awareness into your body. Continue to breathe. Maybe you become aware of the room around you, scanning from left to right, noticing the objects in the room. Continuing to breathe, turning the eyes from left to right. And if you'd like to bring your attention back to your body, you can, or you can continue scanning the room, noticing colors, textures, things like that. And as you're ready, you can get nice and comfortable here. We're thinking about our inner child. So the inner child is the idea that a younger version of yourself still exists inside of your mind and body. And so memories and emotional experiences and thoughts, beliefs can all be traced back to younger versions of yourself. And so tonight we're going to try to access speaking directly to the inner child. The inner child often experiences themes of shame, guilt, feelings of inadequacy, inferiority. When life doesn't go the way that we think it should, or perhaps we have trauma or disappointment or grief or loss, all of these things can layer up in our psyche and can cause us to experience these feelings of failure and these feelings of inadequacy or not being in control. So we want to attune with that inner child that feels this loss of control, feels a great sense of fear and anxiety, vulnerability and helplessness. So if you're able to create a safe container within you, a felt sense of safety, a felt sense of calm and trust. So maybe you go to a certain place in your mind where you feel calm and safe and okay. And then maybe you invite your inner child to come and sit with you in this calm and safe space. Now imagine holding hands with your inner child. Maybe you gently look into the eyes of your inner child and begin to ask your inner child, what are they feeling right now? And where do they feel that in their body? Let your inner child know that in this safe space they are safe and they can trust that they will be kept safe and that they will not be judged for anything that they are feeling in this place. Maybe you take some time to let your subconscious speak to you through your inner child. Letting them answer these questions, letting your inner child tell you what they're thinking and feeling. Ask, what age are you? What is your name? What are the memories that are attaching to these thoughts and feelings? How would your inner child like to be helped or supported? What are some things that could help your inner child feel more grounded, safe, and okay? Notice any feelings that you have as you ask these questions to your inner child. Notice any feelings and notice how they're connected to the inner child. Notice if you're feeling a current emotion from a current experience now, or is this an emotion from a long time ago that you're still carrying with you. And when you're ready, asking your inner child what this feeling of failure or this feeling of loss of control, this fear, where is that stemming from? What memories, what core emotions or core wounds? And where did they come from? When did they come from? Is there any part of this story that your inner child may want to release or let go? Is there any physical gestures, movements, sounds, or statements that your inner child needs to say to complete the survival response to these memories? In your life now, as an adult, at whatever age you are, I want you to think now as an adult. Ask yourself, what age are you now? What is your gender? What is your name? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And how are you feeling in this moment? When it comes to this feeling of loss of control, failure, inferiority, incompleteness, whatever that feeling may be, when that feeling is triggered, is there a response that you'd like to make now? Perhaps a sound, or a physical movement or gesture, maybe a spoken word or phrase. Maybe you'd like to say something to someone in order to bring about more closure. Is there anything that you need to do or feel in order to feel a little bit more complete? And now, I want to ask you, what if inadequacy and inferiority is not your truth? What if that is a story that you've been telling yourself in order to protect you from something? What might you be protecting yourself from by telling yourself this story? Is it possible that you might like to shift your relationship with this old story now, in this moment? Even if the shift is subtle or gradual, maybe simply opening up to the thought, maybe that's the move in this moment. What would that feel like? Opening up to the thought of shifting your relationship with inferiority. Is it possible that you could release this story or a part of this story and still feel safe, still feel protected? Is it possible that you could tell yourself a different story? Maybe a story that is more neutral and less critical to yourself. More neutral and less holding back of yourself. If you did shift your story or shift your relationship to your story, how might you feel different? How might your behaviors change? How might your life change if you did shift the relationship with this story? If you came to a more realistic knowing of yourself, a more neutral knowing, or even a more positive knowing, depending on your preferences, your needs, and your ability to tolerate positive emotion, how might your life look different in a month, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years? If you did, choose to shift your story tonight, and you told a different story about yourself, what do you fear might happen? Are you afraid that you might have success? Are you afraid that you might lose something? You might lose freedom, or you might lose the gift of anonymity when you have a lower social status. So if you were to climb up the social status, are you afraid of being perceived? Are you afraid of being maybe criticized or evaluated in some way? Notice that. Notice whatever your mind is telling you. I'm going to ask you, in this final moment of this meditation, I'm going to ask you to hold in one hand the feeling of inferiority, and then that represented by your old story. And then I'm going to ask you in another hand to hold your new story, the new story that you want to tell about yourself, about your strengths, and about your core values and your desires. Holding these both, notice, what do you feel? When you turn to look at the old inferior story, what comes up for you? And when you turn to look at the new story that you want to tell, what comes up for you? And if you'd like, you can bring the stories together by symbolizing holding hands together. Maybe you interlace the fingers. And imagine weaving the stories together to create and symbolize integration. Just take a moment to breathe and notice whatever comes up. In this last moment, I invite you to again release both stories. Maybe you blow one hand and then blow the other, symbolizing letting go of the story and coming back to this moment. Let's ground ourselves by stomping our feet on the floor if you like, rubbing the knees with the hands. Maybe you rub the hands together. One of my favorite mindfulness things that I like to do is place warm hands over my eyes and take a deep breath. This helps me to relax my eyes. Sometimes I get tension around my eyes, and so that warmth helps me to soften. So taking one last moment to take some deep breaths, and maybe you scan the room from left to right, right to left, noticing what you notice. Check Checking in with the 5 senses. And bringing yourself back into your body, back into this here and now moment, releasing the stories from the past. Namaste, my friend. I hope you enjoyed this meditation.